All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. We're going to go today. We're going to go over Michi's chapter. What chapter is this? Chapter 5, which is the butterfly anchor, the butterfly stage, as he calls it. And this is something I think new and unique to Michi on this one. I don't remember anyone referring to anything as a butterfly stage. But butterfly stage refers to actually the 3-point anchor. And 3-point anchor is an odd one. It's sort of the in-between from an advanced anchor being the 4 and the 5-point, and a deep anchor being the ace or the deuce point. And so the 3-point is neither of those, and Michi calls it the butterfly anchor. And he calls it that because the idea of the butterfly turns into a caterpillar, goes into a cocoon and turns into a butterfly and then flies away. So the idea here is, you'd rather make the deep anchor. That's why in Michi's proverbs, fight for the strong point, which is usually the 4 or the 5-point. So you often hit loose there just to get it and keep your opponent from making that anchor. But you don't really hit loose on the 3-point. Occasionally you do, but usually you don't. And that's because it's not as valuable a point. However, it still has some value. Any point has some value, as opposed to being a blot, particularly on your opponent's inner board. So it has value, but generally once you make the butterfly anchor, you're going to want to break it at an opportune time. So, and that's what this chapter is about. Sort of when do you make it, when do you break it? So we look at this, the first example, and a 2-1 to play. And so what's the best option here? The 2-1. What does anyone think?
Make the anchor 6 to 5.
Yeah, 6 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you bring one down from the 13 and just come up to the 23.
Yeah. Okay. There's another vote. Well, and we'll look at the answer. And the answer is 6 to 5. Second best is 8 to 7. 13 to 10 is kind of down on the list. And the idea here is that one, black has made a good point, and so you want to be defensive. There's no proverb. I think Michi has a proverb on that, but you are a little bit threatened by that, and so making the anchor is a good defensive position. You can't really be attacked now. That's the whole point of making the anchor. And so the question then is, what's the best ace play? Now, 13 and 10. Now you're under attack, but not that much under attack, because you only got 8 checkers in the zone. But you've given them some jokers, double 3s, double 5s in particular. 5-3 is really bad. Even double 6s, black will 10 checkers and so you're giving them some jokers there. You're also, and then, well, other jokers are a 9, 6-3 coming out to hit, 4-5 and so forth. Double 3s aren't so great. That is another joker on the other side. The double 3s was going to point at you and giving a 3-point board. So you're under some threat. So making that anchor, even if it's not the best anchor, does have some advantages. And so the next question is, okay, what do you do with the ace? And that's usually it's 8 to 7 and 6 to 5, and I think most of the time those of you who are listening to these long enough know that 6 to 5 is fight for the good point. I think Michi had a chapter in his earlier book, how do you play an ace, and it's often right to slot the ace. In particular, black has not moved his back checker in this case, so if this is not a position, but probably this is going to change the answer a little bit. Yeah. You don't, generally, you're not going to slot into a double shot. Although, it's tied for the second best play, just because there isn't a good play. This is not so great either, for the same reason that you didn't want to, you're still under attack here, even though it's from eight checkers. And this one is also better, but now you're giving up more shots at the 10 at the for another block. So it's a little more dangerous than before.
Gary,
Yeah.
so is this your second roll of the game?
Yeah, black opened with a 3-1. Well, it's white's first roll, but yeah, it's a second roll position. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it can't be.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's actually it's the third roll. So white opens with a 5-2 and coming down here and splitting the back checkers. Black counters with a 3-1, making the 5 point. So this is a third roll.
okay.
Okay. Let's see, next example. Yeah, okay, so here we have an issue that's okay, we got the 3-point anchor, and it's not, it's good, not great, but now we have another option. We could make the 11 point. Which is also also a good point to make, but it's not, not that great. I mean, obviously it's, the strong points are the 4, 5 and bar, but obviously you can't make that with this roll. So you could make an outfield point. Michi had a problem about making the outfield point, and so that's a good one. Would be something to consider. But the question is, should we make it here, or should we make the 3-point here? And what do you think?
I
And
think that you need to unstack the midpoint, and making the 11 points quite a good strategy.
Yeah.
Especially as black's got quite a lot to do with that blot, which you might be able to cover.
Yeah.
But if you leave it open on the 22, that should be
Well,
okay,
and
rather
Michi,
than making it.
And Michi does have a proverb of unstacking, so you've got 4 on, and so that would be a reason to do that. What else is going on here?
See,
11
for
point
this
isn't
one, I might,
exactly the point.
He's starting to block you in.
Uh,
Black is starting to block.
Well, yeah, black has brought down a checker. It looks like we split with a 6-2 to start. Black got probably a 4-2 or something like that. 5-1 maybe to hit, put us on the bar. And so, yeah, yeah, and this is, so black has started a point, maybe would prime us, but what I think what's more important here though, and so you're getting down to something, is that black now has 9 checkers in the zone and 3 spares basically. So if you come in here and then look, which is what you would probably do, or even here, but let's say we come in here and now look, you sort of ask, are we under threat here?
Yes,
That we need to worry about. Yeah, well, yeah, and there are threats because we got a blot out here, but that's only hit by a 6-4. But now we've got 3 spares pointing at this number or this checker and this checker. So there are a lot of good numbers here for black. You got 4-3, 5-3, 5-4, all point on this number. Double 5s and 6-5. Actually, double 5s are really good too. 6-5, double 3s are good. So you're giving black a lot of jokers here. And so in this case, it's in this case, protecting against that attack is stronger than the unstacking. Actually, this is odd. Well, I guess these are about the same way. If you're going to make I'm surprised that this is better. Well, okay, yeah, and well, this is actually they're about the same. Whether you make the 11 or you slot the 10, they're about the same. And I think it has more to do with the fact that at the 2 point you're less under attack. Black is less likely to hit you deep, or if he does point on you deep, then it's not as bad as pointing you on the 3 point. And that's even better than making this point in the outfield, which is normally you would make the point. But the idea here is that you're under some sort of threat here. So play a little defensively. It's not the best anchor, but at least you're not going to get the joker. Black's not going to get a joker to do that, to do anything against you.
Well, in addition, if you make that point, doesn't it probably feels to Black like you're putting a little more pressure on their block too? So if they don't clean it up.
Well, yeah, maybe, but there's pressure anyway. I mean, if you don't, if you just come in on, if you don't make the anchor, now you got 2 points putting pressure on Black's block. So that's even twice the amount of pressure to do something with it, to cover it or make another point.
If you don't make that anchor, you're giving him his whole roll and you've really done nothing concrete. I mean, making the 11 points immaterial at this juncture.
Yeah, it's not, I wouldn't call it immaterial, but yeah, it's 11 point is, it's a stepping stone to something better. You make the 11 point, not because you necessarily want to make the 11 point, but because, you can do a lot from there. You can make the bar or you can make the 5.
Gives you good sixes.
So
later.
yeah, it gives you useful 6s. Which is developmentally, it's good, but that doesn't do you any good if Black hits you loose. And Black is going to hit you, loose if you come in. If you come here on the 3 point, if he gets a 4 that doesn't do anything else, Black might as well hit you loose, and that will, that takes away your roll, takes away your development. And in any case, it's I think the bigger idea is that unless you make the anchor, you're more under threat here with this extra spare, and in particular where it is. And so you get over that by simply making the anchor and going on. Okay. Another example. Now what? Things are a little bit different. Black has made the bar point. And split. So how does that change things?
I'd come in on the 22 and hit on the 4.
Okay, yeah, that's Michi's fight for the good point.
I like that play. That unstacks the heavy 6 point, and he's so stripped over there. You don't really need to.
Well, that's a good point. Black is now stripped. So if he's going to hit you, you come in on the 3, say, and he's going to hit you, then he's got to break a point, unless it's a double 3s or something like that. But
right.
So the threat here, even though Black has made a point and is a stronger position, the threats here aren't as great. Now, so hitting off the 4 is usually right. And that's one of Michi's proverbs, fight for the good point. There's also another proverb that gets less attention, but is sort of contradicts this. Anyone remember what that one is?
Just make a point instead of hitting loose.
Yeah, make a point. And I think the proverb was, make a point. Making a point is better than hitting loose. So, in this case, we've got the order where, here if we're not going to make the anchor, it's better to make the point than to hit loose. And these aren't and these aren't huge differences, but they're simple ideas, easy enough to apply. So here, the threat is really from this point out here. Now black is split. There are a lot more numbers that hit. Not just 10, a 6-4, but sevens. You got 5, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 1. So you got now 6, actually 8 numbers, 8 rolls that hit. And so that's a lot more pressure out here. Butterfly anchor is still not bad. It's the second best play, and these are 0.025 is not something we need to worry about too much, but the idea is simple enough to avoid even the small error, because you're not as big a threat, under biggest threat here with the way the distribution is, even though black has the better point. And hitting loose is still, it's not terrible because you're still fighting for the good point, but and you're taking a roll away from black, and so that's all good. And you're relieving pressure on this one, except for a 6-5, but you're still putting this one under attack. And just in general, make the outfield point over leaving the over hitting that loose on the inside. Okay, so those are situations in where you'd make the anchor. And now we're getting to a situation where we want to leave the anchor. So and those are a little bit more difficult. And we spend a lot more time on this. So he's got three ideas to remember, to help you remember, when do you break the anchor? And so I'll read them off to you, and then we'll go over what they mean. One, he calls it after we complete the fort. And so
Say again, what was that?
After you complete the fort. So what the fort, by fort, he means a prime in front of your opponent. So here, this is as good a fort as you're going to get, 6 prime. And so that's what he means. Now we've completed the fort, and now we can, and so now that's a sign that you should break the butterfly anchor. The other one is when you leave it when you have 0 or 1 spare in the outfield, which also applies here. We've got 1 spare in the outfield. That's it. And so that would tell you to leave. And then otherwise, if you would leave a direct shot, that's the third one. So it's after you complete the fort, which means after you've made a decent prime, after no spares in the outfield, you're a 1 spare, or when you're going to leave a direct shot otherwise. Something that he didn't mention, but seems to matter, is that you need to have a race lead too here. But generally, and if you don't, it's probably not best to leave the butterfly anchor. So he didn't really go into a lot of detail on that. So I'll look at some examples where that might be important. So here, we've got the we've completed the fort. So what does that tell us to do? Is it time to leave the butterfly anchor or not? Excuse me a second.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
You don't want to get trapped back there with an awkward roll, so.
Yeah, good point. That's and yeah, he mentioned that too, and that's if you have a chance to leave now, so you should take it, because there are a lot of really bad numbers here. Threes, actually threes aren't that bad, but double 4s, even double 5s, they kind of they're going to crash your prime. And so you'd rather try to escape from it without it. So the 6 is going to go here. This is interesting. So where's the ace? Michi doesn't talk about this, but it's interesting. I probably would have gotten this one wrong. So it's not that big of a deal, but I think it's worth talking about.
I would go 22, 21. I would just bring it on up.
yeah. The thing is that you can duplicate the ones by coming 16, 15.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. I mean, he's got all kinds of numbers. He's going to hit you, and he's going to implode probably. You're going to hang on to your prime, and
Yeah,
It's all for your benefit. I mean, the main thing here is splitting those two backmen because you do not want them together. They have much more flexibility, more numbers available to them if they're not together.
But black is waiting for white to dismantle its prime, so you're trying to stop him doing that.
yeah. Yeah, so let's just look at it. The main thing is okay, 22, is to leave the anchor. You've got to get you got to break your anchor here, and try to get around black before black can, prime you himself. And so it turns out the best is to come out and out. I probably would have done this play with the idea of keeping the connectivity there. But I think the answer is that that the reason it's not the best play is that, okay, yes, you're duplicating ones and you're giving them threes. But the threes are already duplicated. And with this play, you're also giving fours that are good. And this four isn't bad, but unless it covers, it's not useful. And so you've given him a good four. Also, black is going to point on here if he has to, just because he needs to stop you. But having him point on you on the 3-point is far better than having him point on you on the 4-point.
Right.
So I think those things make it, again, this is not our biggest concern. If we got this wrong, not a catastrophe. This, not breaking the anchor there is the big problem here. So that's the key concept to understand, is you got to break that anchor. And here, your four is complete. You also got no spares. So, that's Michi's point on this one.
Gary?
Yeah.
Is the idea of breaking your anchor, this is like the middle game, right? You're in the middle game.
Yeah.
So is the idea that most of his checkers are closer to his home board? And so it's a more opportune time for you to jump out?
I don't think it has that much to do with the distribution of black's checkers. Well, other than that, we've got to get over them. We've got to get around them, or our board was going to crash. So,
Okay.
where they are, I don't think it matters so much where the prime is. But if we have a chance to get over it, then we need to do that.
A long time ago, somebody told me sixes don't grow on trees. You kind of want to get out of there while you can.
Right, that's right. Yeah, and it's a 4 prime, and that's not as certainly not as impressive as our 6 prime or even a 5 prime. But you can't. But a 4 prime can kill you because you do need the 6 or the 1-5, and so and if you get to double 4s or double 3s or something like that, or in this case double 5s, then you're running out of time and you're cracking your prime and you're doing all sorts of stuff that you don't want to do. So you got the opportunity now, you should take it. And again, the sign in this case is you completed the fork, as she calls it. But you're also running out of time because you have no spares. In this case, you have one, or in this case, his criteria is 1 or 0 spares. In this case, you've got 1 spare. So it's the time is right, so you should take it.
But Gary, it's Michi that said that apparently that you should always jump a prime.
Yeah, before he makes it impossible to jump. Because we could be in this situation. There's not that many numbers, but there's a few numbers that give black the 16-point here.
Gary,
double 2.
Can we try a different position where you put the black checker on the 1 point? Okay. And let's put both checkers of the 8 on the 13 and see what's the right play in that situation. Yeah. So now you have more timing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's interesting. Well, let's try to figure out, we still have a fort. It's a 5-point fort rather than a 6-point fort. So that's a kind of a sign to jump. We've only got one spare here. So that's also a sign to jump. So I would say it's time to jump here too. Yeah, time to jump. But here, I think what you're getting at, Jacob, is that this isn't a huge blunder. Whereas it was before, and this is kind of this not bad either, but this is still jumping out. So but yeah, so here it's the evidence, I guess, isn't as bad or isn't as overwhelming as in the other case. So here, let's see. Yeah, here not jumping out is a blunder, and a huge blunder. Yeah. Okay, so let's go. The next one. And so here, again, what do we have signs to jump?
Of one in the outfield.
Yeah, you got a spare here. I don't know whether he considered these spares or not, but they're kind of limited spares. So here but I think the bigger idea is this is the fort. You've got the 5', and so that's a sign to get out, because when you're breaking this anchor, you're going to get attacked because black has no other choice. Even if you come out and doesn't hit you, it's very hard for him to make this point here, and so any 6 gets you out. So black's going to attack you, and you want to attack when you have your best defense, and your best defense is a strong prime, which you have. It's not the 6', but it's a 5' is still pretty strong.
Well, it's a little bit away from, teeny bit away from a 6' if you slot the back of the prime with the 1. If you jump out with the 6 and do 10 to 9, then you roll that prime forward.
Yeah. Let's just look at the right answer. We'll talk about that. It's
an error.
So again, it's hopping out is right. This play is the second, but it's basically the same. 2 out is okay. Your play, it's a little, now the problem with this play, and it's not a big problem, so if you did it, it's a 0.02 error, is that 1, you don't have a direct cover. So this is 7 pips away, and so you need a 7 to cover it, which is not terrible, but it also gives black a joker,
Right.
a 2-6 joker.
Right.
And so those are not big things, because obviously if you could make the 6' on your next roll, black is in even deeper trouble. But
Bit of a risk.
there are just other things. But again, the main thing here is, okay, you've got to jump over this now. Anything that doesn't jump over, I guess this is not quite a blunder, but it's almost a blunder. Is pretty bad. All right. The next one. So here we've got, well, what do we got? Have we completed the fort? Well, yes and no, sort of, not as good. It's a 4', so that's not bad. But it's not exactly the same type of fort that we had before. Now it's not a 6', and it's not a 5' with black not at the edge. So black is at the edge of the prime, and that's not so great. We do have a 5-point board. So let's look. What happens if we come in? We're here.
I'm tempted to split here, Gary,
Split 22-21.
and then, yeah, just play the, sorry, if you put it back where it was,
Go to the 6 point.
yeah, and just make the 6 point.
So here. Yeah,
It's a little riskier, but you can't stay back there forever.
And also you've still got your, you know, your 5 points in your home board.
yeah, yeah.
You
I have
really do
that.
need that. You need that spare in case he's thinking of jump off of your 2 point. You do want something to hit him with.
Yeah, yeah, it's also a target too. So there's some rationale for safety. However, you're putting yourself directly under attack here. And so you're giving him some jokers, you know, the 4, now it's 4-2 in addition to a 5-3. That's a problem. What do we got? Double 5s. Yeah, a few jokers, it's not terrible. Black is going to attack you, however, because what else can he do at this point? Other than make a prime, you know, maybe make the bar point or the 9 point out here.
How
Kind
about
of
taking the,
the main thing is you don't want that checker on the 11 point to get sent back. You've got a huge racing lead.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's a good point too. And Michi mentioned this, he doesn't make a good deal of, I'll look for next time how much the racing lead impacts these decisions. But, you know, the alternative is, okay, we know that coming out is an option. So what do we like or not like about this?
There's too many hitting numbers and you could hit twice and could
mean,
make
this
it
is what I would-
difficult for
oh, sorry, go
white.
ahead.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of hitting numbers.
You get a lot of return shots.
I think that the splitting play is good because if he does hit one, he's probably not hitting both, obviously. And then you're able to make some sort of, maybe you're going to make that butterfly anchor. Maybe you're going to come back and hit him and make the 4 point. So.
Well, I'd say the question is here, we have a big racing lead and what's our best chance of escaping? Well, we have a big racing lead and we have a 5 point board. So Black can hit and he can hit loose. But there are, you know, there are consequences. There are a lot of return shots. So for instance, if Black can only hit, say Black hits this off the 16 point and can't cover it. Now any 6 coming in puts Black on the bar. And putting Black on the bar at this point, you know, is
Damaging.
it's pretty dangerous for Black. All right, well, let's look at the answer on that. So Michi's answer is going to be, okay, you got to come out. It's time to move. You got a fort.
Wow.
It's not the greatest fort, but it's a fort. And you're out of spares. So step out. And now you're leaving. The interesting thing here is you're leaving 3 blocks.
4s, 2s, 5s, and 3s.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you know, the 3 is the 3 really a threat? You know, a 5-3 is, because now he's got the 3 point board. But again, you know, making the 3 point here is not, you know, not great, but it's better than making the 4 point. Because now you can come in on the 4. If he makes the 3 point, you can come in on the 4 and have a better shot at getting out. In any case, so let's look at these plays. Coming out is the best play. Splitting and coming in is the second best play. So that's, you know, that's not bad for all the reasons that you know, Nick mentioned. And yeah, not terrible. That this type of error we weren't gonna, you know, we're not going to worry too much about for a position like this. But you know, coming in, you know, not giving yourself a chance to free up this back checker is you know, probably the worst thing that you can do. Although well, not the worst thing, because you could leave even more blots lying around, and that would be really bad. But you know, that, so I shouldn't say that's not the worst thing. There's always something really, really stupid that you can do if you try. So, but anyway, the main thing here is, you got the, it's often, you're often trained for having an advanced anchor that you don't break the anchor, that or at least you're very reluctant to break that anchor. And so, but so the main thing you have to get over is that, okay, for the 3-point anchor, that's not what we want to do. We want to be looking to break it at the best, the soonest opportunity that we can, that makes sense. And in order to understand what makes sense, you've got to learn these signs. So,
it's also a little bit interesting, a little bit of duplication. If you do come out, the checker on the 11 point is subject to 5-4, and that would be a duplication of source on the other side, 4s and 5s.
yeah.
So in other words, he's sort of safe.
Yeah, there's a little bit of duplication there. Yeah, I'm not sure how that, certainly the 4. Actually, that's a good question. If you did this and black got a 4.
Got to
Oops,
come
you
out.
did this. Yeah. Does black hit here or hit there?
Or there and there.
Well, you can, I don't think, okay. Or yes, you could come here and hit with this 4 and hit that one, hitting 2. But my guess is that because of the 5-point board, that you're not going to want to risk, you're going to want to minimize the blots that you have. So let's see what the answer is to this one.
The double hit.
It is the double
And
hit.
you're
Okay.
aggressive. You have to be aggressive. And
Yeah.
he's not going to give up that anchor such as it is.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have done this one with the idea that you don't want to, getting hit is very bad. However, this one obviously has better structure. If you're not hit, you're in pretty good shape. If you are hit, though, you're in pretty bad shape.
Well, just bear in mind also you're holding a 2 cube, so you're not going to play like a wuss. You got to go for it. Sorry about the
That's true.
phraseology.
That's a fair point.
I'm not playing you then, Leslie.
You see? I didn't hear that. I think, thank you.
In the original position, suppose you had the 4-point instead of the 3-point, would you still break it?
All right, let's look at the original position. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because now you're much more reluctant to break the 4-point. However, the thing here is that you've got a 44 pip lead, and so the only time that you break the anchor is if you have a significant lead. Now here you're coming out and you're really giving, you're really putting yourself out there to be shot. So actually in this one, if you did come out, here's the 5. My guess is that this is the 1 to duplicate the 4s and the 2s. My guess is though is that you do come out, because black is only going to get stronger here too. Generally, the idea with breaking the anchor is, okay, are you behind in the race here? Are you up in the race here or way up in the race? So we're running out of time. At some point we're going to have to break this anchor if we want to win this game. And so that speaks to breaking now. The other thing is, is black going to be stronger after? Is black going to get stronger or weaker? And in this case, black is probably going to get stronger here because he's going to bring some checkers down from the midpoint. Maybe he'll probably make a point if you don't break, and then that's going to make it harder for you to go. So let's look at the answer. So it is coming out and is stepping up, although, and this is duplication. Because if you do this, you have 2s and 4s, 2s and 4s, so that's duplicated. So that's the main reason for that. But this isn't terrible either. But coming out is right. This is also not bad. But if you don't break now, when are you going to break? Okay, maybe you
Next roll.
Yeah, probably next roll, and he could make, maybe often it's right to play for the joker. Double threes, double fives, double sixes. That will bail you out if you can get that. And so I suspect that's the reason why we're even looking at this one. But again, it is right to step out. It's not quite the blunder to not step out. Those were errors. And here, I guess you wouldn't call this an error either, but not moving these is a blunder. Yeah, so okay, so that's it for this section of that. So let me take the recording.